Happy Halloween. It's October 31st, 2019. And yesterday I went physically out shopping. And I do buy stuff off online, but sometimes it's just better to go see people person to person and find out what's going on in the world. And so with the AC Delco Alternator project, I was seeking for an off-the-shelf pulse width modulated VFD drive, and so got invited back to the warehouse, and was discussing, what I was doing, what my drive would do. They guy that's been doing this for quite a while, and he says, you can't really get a controller off the shelf that's above 400 hertz. And I said, well, I realize that because I've done a little bit of internet research and kind of noticed that. And what's the deal? Well, he said that you can spin up devices that shouldn't be spin up. And now I understand why. And it deals with centrifuges. So it was kind of like, wow, I didn't have a clue. Wait a minute, I'm not trying to do anything like that. I did explain what I was have done and been doing. But the things that be. But anyway, yesterday. Went and got my magnet set, and that's the dimensions of what I bought. And you can find those readily available at commercial box stores. And then that's another Bedini wheel, and like I said, I'm going to lay that out from center point. Now, if you notice on the Bedini wheel, there will be a little point on the casting. I use that as my center point to drill into. And then, like I said, I'm going to take my compass and protractor and go 140 degrees that way and 140 degrees that way, and that should be the neutral point. Now, that won't be adjustable, but that'll be a way to experiment with the reactance of a basket wound 30-degree alternator. And so it's kind of interesting figuring that out, how it flips. Now, the hysteresis of the metal as the magnet's going by will automatically flip its poles with the switching, and that's the reactive power from an alternator. A lot of people haven't seen the inside of an alternator, and that's the inside of an alternator. Okay, and this is the rotor, and there's a coil inside of this rotor. Okay, and it's got a lot of wraps on it, and then you have two rings for the brushes to rest on. And in the alternator, they rest those rings right on the dead center point for spinning these up. Okay, and that's your field voltage for it, and it's a hollow shaft. And what they do is they have two terminals that come off that coil. One's coming from the top, one's coming from the bottom, and to your plus and negative sides on your field winding. And there's 6 pieces of steel on this side that are cut on the angles and 6 pieces of steel on this side. So you have the alternating path off that field, DC field, to create the alternation with the basket weave. Okay. And so that's exactly what's going on. Then you have a little fan up here, and that fan is, removable. And, for what I'm doing in creating this Dynamo, not using this part of it. Okay. And getting people to understand the difference in an alternator and dynamo is completely different. In that a dynamo, the magnet fields, depending on what you're wanting to do, face one direction. And in the if you're wanting to suck energy, you use the south face of the magnets to do that. If you're wanting to push energy, you're wanting to face the north out of the magnet field. Okay. And so it's a biased pulse width modulated circuit. And that's the difference between a dynamo, which is something that I didn't really know till recently. They talk about dynamos, but that's the difference in a dynamo and an alternator and a regular generator. So the coming through that, when I came up with my device and software and everything, I told everybody it was proprietary, and I really didn't realize the reason of licensing and everything for that. But a lot of that is national security, and so you can put devices in the hands. Sometimes us as garage physicists can create, and especially someone like myself that can design and build their own devices. We inadvertently come across things that aren't for mainstream media and mainstream publications. So we vet and confirm each other as patriots, and just have to be careful that we don't because this YouTube now, we're able to talk to a large community. They're able to watch our videos and things, and I don't want to harm anybody. Don't want to do anything to harm our world. I want to work safe. I want everybody else to work safe as well. And as we start working with Radiant Watts and Radiant Energy and open systems, I've been aware for a long time that open systems can do unexpected things, and especially when doing postmortems on different circuit boards and stuff after burnout, and discovering why that happened. And sometimes the information leads in directions that you don't know. But like I said, the modification that I'm making to the permanent magnet rotor is as I described: center point 140 degrees one way from there, 140 degrees the other way from there, and that leaves 80 degrees in the center. And that should be about neutral. And then we can take another wheel and modify it to where we can tweak the magnets within that field for what we're wanting to do with reactive switching equipment. And I think that's fairly safe. Okay. The understanding, the magnetic field, the way that it flips, and the hysteresis of working with metals in that. Then when you go with open core systems, of course, you can pull much more of the manifested radiant watts, and that leads into a whole other rabbit tail with communications. But the switching equipment in the old days, because of vibration and different things, we handled it through fiber optics. And now since we have Wi-Fi and other things, there's other technologies coming through that are controlling these different devices. But in your big plants, and where they're operating huge pieces of equipment, fiber optics was the communications ports to handle this, and then we've moved into different realms with that. I like fiber optics because it's uninterrupted to the source, and I believe for internet services, especially for home use and things like that, that what's going to actually end up winning out is what's called Li-Fi, which is light emitting diodes, and you can't even see the frequency difference. But when the system is hooked through, you can't hack it. It's pretty interesting technology, and I think it will ultimately be the winner of signaling. So anyway, I just wanted to give you an update on that, and I'll start posting. But work safe, be secure. If you discover things, be kind of a little bit sensitive to understanding that there may be an age group or type mentality that I mean, it's kind of like a hazard, but I wouldn't want anybody to get off into doing this and use it for harmful means in any way, form, or fashion. So you guys have a blessed day, and hope you're having fun, because we are, and I'll see you next trip.